Well, it's a story that hits at the heart of the right to vote and the rights of the disabled. It surrounds a group of disabled adults in California who recently cast their ballots. Reporter Lisa Amin of our affiliate KGO has their story.
Would you mind talking to me about who you voted for?
The pike man.
Michael Raskin voted in his first presidential election. He and 9 other developmentally disabled clients at the Thumbs Up Adult Care Home in Tuolumne County recently cast their absentee ballots. All but one voted for Barack Obama.
Did somebody help you vote?
Dave did.
David Simmerly is the home's director. He admits to helping any client with his ballot who asked.
No one's vote should be coerced. I think that's the bottom line.
The state Republican Party now questions the validity of the thumbs up votes. They want the Secretary of State to investigate.
If they haven't been declared incompetent to vote, and they're citizen, and they're over the age of 18, and they're a resident, a legal resident, they're entitled to vote.
Stanford Law School professor Pamela Carlin says legally, someone like Director Simmerly can fill out a ballot for his clients if they're illiterate or incapable. Freedom of speech even gives Simmerly the right to share his political opinions.
We try to be totally nonpartisan. We didn't tell people how to vote. We told people how to vote.
But Michael Raskin's father thinks his son was manipulated.
He wouldn't know one candidate from another.
There's no requirement that a voter be well informed on the issues or have a sophisticated understanding of economics or the like to vote.
I don't know the issues, but I do not think I would be upset if a caregiver took my daughter, who was of age and had a legal right to vote.
Doug Turner's daughter has Down syndrome, and he expects her to vote one day. Unless a court found she was incompetent, he has no idea why she wouldn't.
So I think we should, teach our children to vote, take part in the democratic process.
Well, let's talk more about elections and the rights of the disabled. Curtis Decker is Executive Director of the National Disability Rights Network. Curtis, first of all, I just want to address this situation in particular with Thumbs Up there in California. The Executive Director, David Simmerly, and we heard from some of the developmentally disabled voters there. Did he do anything wrong? He did come forward and say that when we register people to vote, we try to be totally nonpartisan. He insists he exerted no influence over his clients, despite the fact that nearly all of them voted Democratic in the otherwise Republican county, he said. He also said he allowed them to choose their candidate freely, although he did fill out some of the ballots for those who can't read or write. Did he do anything wrong from that perspective?
No, he did not. As the previous speaker had said in your piece, the law allows for assistance in voting. This has been a long tradition with voting rights for people with disabilities. Certainly people with sensory disabilities such as blindness have had to have assistance for years. And so there is no legal restriction on assistance to vote. And as the professor said, as long as they have not been found incompetent for the right to vote, they are entitled to cast their ballot.
Okay, so whoever is assisting them when they cast their ballot, it's basically up to them morally to have a good heart and just explain the system and hope that they vote the way they want to vote and not influence them.
That's right, and I do think that it is a mistake to assume that people with disabilities, all levels of disability, don't have the ability to make a sound decision any more than any other person in our society to pick a candidate of their choice. We certainly see lots of reasons why people without disabilities use to pick their candidate, and we may disagree with that, but that is their right, and it's wrong to assume that people with disabilities don't have that capability.
You bring up a good point, because I was interviewing some 4th, 5th, 6th graders just the other day, asking them about the candidates, and they were very well informed. They had been learning from school, they've been learning from their parents, and the young man that we saw, the older man we saw profiled in this piece, 56 years old, but he's got the mentality of a 5th grader. We do need to be understanding that you can teach them and educate them on a 5th grade level, of course, about the candidates, and so you do believe, even in that type of situation, okay, they can make an informed vote.
Absolutely, and there's very clear that people in residences for people with developmental disabilities are very much exposed to television, so they, like us, have probably had quite a fill of candidates' profiles and advertisement, and they can make a decision based on likability and as well as issues.
So what do you think about the California Republican Party? Because I just came forward with this, and that the Secretary of State has been asked to investigate this incident. Is that fair? Do you think that should happen?
Well, they have the right to do that, but I would warn any political party to not assume that the disability community votes in a block and write off that vote. And that possibly in California, and this particular group home, it might look like it's more liberal and more prone to one candidate, but there's certainly lots of places around the country that where there may be a different political take. People with disabilities reflect both the ethnic and diversity of the general population, and so there's no reason to assume either way that they would be predisposed to any one candidate. Disability has always been bipartisan, and it is the one minority group you can join. So I think the party makes a mistake if they assume that anyone with an intellectual disability is automatically going to vote one way.
Right. And Curtis, just because of your experience, I mean, you're executive director of the National Disability Rights Network. Say you were to take this group to go vote, and you were going to help them if they were not able to read or write. How would you have approached this and avoided this type of controversy? Would you have handled this any differently?
I don't believe so. I do think that we would try to expose people with intellectual disabilities to all of the candidates, all the material, and make sure that they had access to all the information, and then when they requested assistance, give them that assistance, and hope that who's ever assisting them, doesn't unduly influence them. I do believe that given some of the stigma and prejudice against certain types of disabilities, poll workers and party officials are going to question their ability to vote regardless of what you do.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I grew up with family members and my mom teaching kids with disabilities, and it's really frustrating when people start to understand, because they can be on many levels a lot brighter than many of us.
Absolutely.
Curtis Decker, pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, now to Virginia, where the NAA